So, good morning, everyone. Today we have with us Colonel Ajay Singh. He is an international award-winning author of 7 books. He has written over 200 articles, and I forwarded to you also some of them. He has a distinguished. He had a distinguished career in army. He is now a leading writer and a public speaker. He conducts talks basically on military history and contemporary affairs across various forums. Colonel Ajay Singh's expertise include his operational and strategic aspects of Indian battles, ancient times, medieval times, and modern Indian battles, and various spheres of leadership, doctrines, operational philosophy, logistics, and technology. He is a recipient of Rabindranath Tagore International Award of Literature and Bharat Literary Award. He has written many books that includes Russia-Ukraine War, the current Russia-Ukraine War, the conflict and its global impact, and India's battlefields from Kurukshetra to Balakot, and many more. Ajay sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Nehru. Good to see you. Good to see
Hi,
you.
hi, sir.
And I
Just
can,
a few words from my side, sir.
please.
Colonel Ajay and I have been friends since long,
Hey,
and
tennis.
we did one course together, Defense Services Staff College, I think 91 to 91, 92, sir.
No, my friend. It was 93, 94.
93, 94. Okay, sir. My memory is 93, 94. I was preparing 91, yeah.
Yeah.
So we did that course together, and actually, tennis brought us together. Thereafter, I learned a lot about Colonel Ajay as to his fondness for military history and operational matters. I know Colonel Ajay not only as a very good sports person, but a very genial guy, very easygoing person, but very focused on his career and studies and pursuing his hobbies. And it is really, sir, I am impressed to see that even at this stage, you are going in fourth gear and carrying on with your writings and things like that. I'm very sure you are very fond of all those things. And I just, he had written a beautiful article in the Sunday Guardian, which he shared with me. When I read that, I requested him, sir, will it be possible for you to speak to our kids? And as always, he was absolutely forthcoming. So, Ajay sir, it's all yours.
Thank
Please.
you. Thank you, Nehru. In fact, and I must share with all the participants that Colonel Nehru and me have been good friends. We have played a lot of tennis matches, but when we were on the opposite side of the courts, we were the most strong of adversaries. I always remember his strokes and that horrible drop shot, which would always catch me by surprise. But it has been a pleasure meeting him. But one thing I want to share with each one of you what he said about me doing my passion and doing my writing and all that. Well, he gave me, it is something which I want to bring out. Like it correctly, I enjoy it so much. And for each one of you, you're all in the stage of your careers where you're going to be taking your passion, your enjoy what you do, love your work. Because once you love your work, you're not working. You're only playing all your life. Learn to develop that fondness and that passion for life. It makes you a happy person. Baki sab chodo, ye gyan chodo. But it makes you a happy and a contented person from inside. And I must thank Colonel Nehru for giving me the opportunity to speak to all of you. I know you're all preparing for your competitive exams and things like this. So today what I'm going to do is, the aim of the talk today would be just to broaden your horizon. It's not a lecture. It's just a simple storytelling talk in which I will explore some of the facets of India's foreign policies, especially as regards to Prime Minister Modi's visit to Russia and what it implies, right? You'll be preparing for it'll come handy in competitive exam, but more than that, once you understand the big perspective, not the big picture, ye chote chote cheez, the jigsaw puzzle falls into place. So all of you know that on the 6th and 7th, Prime Minister Modi went to Russia, right? It was his first bilateral visit after taking over. as Prime Minister for the third time. Now, जब वो रशिया गए थे, he was given complete honor. He was given Russia's highest civil military honor. He was taken by Putin himself, who called him, he's my param dost. India and Russia signed a lot of treaties in which they agreed to give fuel to India. They agreed to open nuclear power plants. And Modi ji agreed to buy things from them and also help them out in their peace process. Now, what is the what are the importance of Russia-Ukraine, of Russia-India ties, and where do they go back? You know, Russia, I put it, independent India's strongest, truest, and the most loyal friend has been Russia. We signed a treaty of friendship and cooperation in 1971 with the तभी तो Russia नहीं था, it was the Soviet Union. Russia has always supported us. They have given us weapons. United Nations में हमें support कर दिया. In 71, when the US 7th Fleet came to pressurize India, they sent their own fleet into the Indian Ocean to keep them away. So even when the USSR broke up, India-Russia ties have been strong. And that is how it should always be. You know, that is very nice. But in this world where there are so many powers playing and competing with each other, Russia is even today considered a pariah state. What is the reason for that? Russia, when the US, as the USSR, it was considered to be an evil state. It is not the case. It was the USA which was the evil state, bombing Vietnam, bombing Cambodia, bombing Korea. But Russia was made to be the state which is going to attack Europe at any one time. Even when the Soviet Union collapsed, it was Russia. They said, okay, in future, they will be the enemies. Russia actually wanted to join the European bloc. But they supported Ukraine. They armed it in its war against Russia. And when Russia attacked Ukraine, I mean, that's a different story altogether. But they were justified in doing what they did. But when they attacked Ukraine, Russia became the Western pariah. They put sanctions on it. They said nobody can buy its oil, nobody can buy its gas, nobody can deal with it, nobody can trade with it. And they pushed it into into a corner. This Russia-Ukraine war has been going on for 2 years. In these 2 years, USA and Europe have been arming Ukraine, saying keep on fighting. And एक कहावत है, the USA will continue to fight Russia till the last Ukrainian. उनका मकसद है कि ये लड़ाई चलती रहे. They will keep on giving them arms. But there will be a point when they stop giving them arms and Ukraine will actually collapse there. This is big power games. And what has Russia done to counter it? They put sanctions on Russia. Like they said, nobody can buy oil and gas and fertilizers and grain from them. What did these sanctions do? Were they successful? Did India join the sanctions? The answer is in one word, no. Firstly, when USA put sanctions on Russia, India, China, a lot of other powers said, you are nobody to tell us from whom we can buy oil, whom we cannot buy oil. Russia was selling oil to India at very cheap rates. It was selling oil to India in rupees, not in dollars. Because we were buying good, cheap oil from Russia. Two things happened. One is the Russian economy continued prospering. They could export the oil. The Indian economy began prospering because we were getting cheap oil. And more than that, India was refining the Russian crude oil and exporting it back to Europe, which helped keep the European economy going. Now, the European economy would have gone to recession. The West has not liked what they call India's defiance of sanctions. But let me tell you all, in a nutshell, the Western policy is nonsense. The USA or any other country cannot tell India or any other country, you will buy oil from so and so person, you will not buy from so and so person, you will buy it at only this rate or anything like this. And we must all be very proud of our country, of our prime minister, of our foreign minister, who Dr. Jaishankar was so blunt when he told the Western media and the Western powers in every interview, nobody can tell India what to do. We will do what is good for India and its 1.3 billion people. This policy of independence, they call it strategic autonomy, that's a correct word for it, is what India has been following, and all of us are so proud that our country holds its own against the Western powers and we are still prospering. Now, because India was maintaining relations with Russia and with the West, of course, what has happened? Remember, the Russia-Ukraine war has been going on now for 2 years. Who do you think is winning the war? Can anybody unmute and tell me that?
Sir, I think Russia will win the war, sir.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Anjum. You are right. Russia is already won the war. You know, when they like I said, I won't go to the war because it'll take a full discussion in itself. They were right in their actions. But by October, the war began in April. I beg your pardon, in February 22. By end September, they had captured 20% of Ukraine. All the provinces along the coast and the east. And they are holding on to it. Ukraine keeps on getting money, they keep on getting arms, they launch an attack which fails, but Russia will hold on. And like Anjum brought out, they're already winning the war. So, both sides now, ये stalemate हो गया है. I think nobody can change the status quo. But both sides want a way out of it. Russia does not want to continue fighting the war needlessly. Ukraine knows ki Baba, we cannot get it back. Let us stop it at this stage. So there is a lot of talk for peace negotiations and a negotiated peace between Russia and Ukraine. Now, to attain this peace, there are two nations, only two nations which can do it. Which are these two?
So one is India,
The other is?
maybe China, sir.
Yes, very correct. India and China are the two nations which can do it because they are both so far neutral in a way. China cannot do it because it is being seen as being pro-Russian. So, the one country and the one leader who can get the two parties to the peace table and start peace talks is India and its leadership. So that puts us in a very good position. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you another very interesting question. When do you think this peace process will come about?
After American elections.
Rathore, tell me.
After American elections.
Good. You're all following the news. I'm so happy to see that. Yes, you are right. You're very right. Because Joe Biden, his policy is to continue fighting. The American US elections are going to be held in November. I would say it is very likely that President Trump will come back to power. And President Trump has already made it very clear he is not going to be supporting Ukraine any longer. The war will halt. And my understanding is there will be some kind of a status quo now till November. And then in winter, they can't fight. And by around next year, March or so, some peace talks will come and the peace, you could call it a peace process. It'll be a truce in which both sides keep what they have and the guns stop fighting. And like I said, India is going to be a big player in that. This is what's happening with the Russia-Ukraine war and the different parties involved. Now we're talking about the balance of power and the equation with India, China, Russia, USA, everybody. What has been like I said, when Russia, the USA and Europe, they got together to boycott China, to boycott Russia. In terms of foreign affairs, what was the biggest impact of that?
Economical crisis in Europe, sir.
Yeah, correct. Economic crisis in Europe.
In-
Suffered. Economically, Baba, they were getting crude, they were getting cheap gas, cheap oil. Sab khatam ho gaya. Their economic crash. Russia continued prospering. But in terms of political terms, who did Russia turn to?
China.
Ah, correct. You see, this is an important dealing. The West had always begun realizing that China is the main threat. But when Russia attacked Ukraine, the entire focus shifted against Russia. So the focus shifted away from China. Russia, when it realized that it's being pushed into a corner, it turned to China for political and diplomatic and moral support. China has also provided them a lot of equipment. They call it dual technology equipment, say like trucks, chips, computers, which can be used for both military and civil purposes, which has allowed it to continue the war. Now, Russia needed a market to export its goods. China became the market in place of Europe. So Russia became dependent on China in a way. And they formed that partnership. What did they call that partnership? Xi Jinping and Putin called the Russia-China partnership what? What was the name they gave to it? They said it is a partnership without limits. And what was the aim of that? The aim of that partnership was to come together to counter US rise and US, I would say, bullying in a way. Not bad in itself. Not bad at all. But what does it imply to India?
Because India also feels China as a threat, sir.
Yes.
So if the friendship between Russia and China is growing, so it can be considered as problematic for India.
Excellent. For India, the problem is what? India is involved in a strong border dispute with China. our troops are facing off for the past 4 years. If Russia and China become so close and relations between China and India get spoiled, will China being, I beg your pardon, will Russia, which is the junior partner in that relationship, take China's side? That is our fear. So, by India going to Russia, by re-establishing ties with Russia, in a way, we are reaffirming our ties. Now, this is very interesting. Russia is dependent on China, isn't it? But what is Russia's fear with China?
That, sir, China might overpower Russia.
Yes. Well, Khushi, that's a good point. Won't overpower it, but then Russia will be such a junior partner in the relationship that they will have no say, no standing. So what
Just
will
like
they
us.
do? है ना? Yeah. So what will they do to counter it?
India.
Correct. It will develop ties with other powers like India. And by developing it, can you see how the balance is coming about in big power equations? They feel now by India, it suits us being close to Russia. Russia suits Russia being close to both China and India. But whom does it not suit?
USA.
The Western power.
Yes, the USA and the Western powers. When we talk, we will use the word Western powers because by the Western powers, we mean the USA led by the Western nations like UK, Germany, France. France is now being more independent. South Korea, Japan, Australia. In a way, it is coming together to form a kind of a cartel. Why does it not suit the USA?
Sir, because its kinship, which is being for the last century, will go up, sir.
Yeah, I let well, it's not really the kingship is of course an old. We will say it's balance of power, it was a superpower. What is happening is who is contesting USA as a superpower for the next for this century?
China.
China.
China. What does the US want to do?
Maintain its hegemony.
The correct term, it wants to counter China.
Yes.
Right. Now, to counter China, who is the logical ally for them?
India.
India.
India. It suits USA to build up India because we become a balance against China. We are being built up. We are and ideologically we are aligned to the USA. We are both democracies. China's actions in expansions towards the South China Seas, Ladakh, some of the actions are dangerous in the long term. It has to be controlled, let me put it, or not contained, let me put it this way. So it does not get too expansionist. So when India turns towards the US, we form alliances with powers like Quad, the Quadrilateral Alliance. Who does it comprise of?
Sir,
Japan,
US,
Australia,
Japan, Australia, and India.
India and who's the fourth
Japan,
quad?
Australia, US,
USA,
Japan,
of course, and the USA, the four other quad powers. Now, honestly, Quad could have been a very good alliance, but it has not been followed up so much. But yes, by being part of Quad, India is de facto joining them. Now, many people imagine that there will be a clash coming up between China and USA in this century. The clash will be largely for economic terms, right? To control China, remember, USA never fights its own wars. For them, building up India, not only to counter it, but to actively fight China in the region will suit it beautifully. Ladies and gentlemen, This is the one thing which we are very cautious about. The fact that we cannot allow ourselves to become another Ukraine. And let me tell you, USA is trying very hard to make India, prop up India against China so that we weaken each other and USA continues to rise. Are you seeing the different games that are being played at different levels? Right?
Yes, sir.
I see that. Now we come to another very interesting thing. In this whole balance of power, in this whole equations and the games, what are India-China equations? What is our relationship?
So in terms of trade, we are
Competitors.
going
And
complicated trade deficit. We are at a trade deficit, and we recently had a Chinese ambassador coming to India. So some relations are improving, but
Good.
until we don't address the border standoffs,
good,
don't think that it is going to.
very, very nice, guys, and extremely nice. Somebody else?
Sir, it's quite complex as China says something and does something else. Until and unless we don't resolve the border dispute, I think it's
Yes.
all null and void.
Okay, so you like Khushi has brought out, yeah, the border dispute is not an irritant, it is a major bone of contention. Kaiser is also about the fact that yes, we are trading. So what exactly is our equation all about?
So China itself sees India as its economic competitor, sir.
As the economic competitor, good. A nation, we should always
Sir,
see each other as economic competitor. But
so China will not allow India to take over in economic power, sir. So that is the reason it is making India has good relations with its neighbors, but it's providing loans and acquiring the ports and other things. So
Sir,
it wants to pressure India in its economical
good.
becoming
Yes,
economic superpower.
so now, Anjum, what you are saying is India and China are in a little bit of a, not a little bit, quite a large tussle in trade and in establishing your influence in the region, the
Yes, sir.
Indian Ocean region. That is our tussle. Let me put it this way. Kushi has brought out the important part. India and China have a 3,700-kilometer long disputed border, the largest disputed border in the world. That has been silent since 1962. But blood was spilled there in Galwan in 2020. You all remember that, don't you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
spoiled
Yes, sir.
it completely. Now, though Indian and Chinese troops are facing off each other, at the same time, India-China trade continued. We boycotted it for a while, but slowly regained momentum. Today, just last month, China overtook USA to become India's largest trading partner. What do you mean by that? What does it imply? If nation, yeah,
India is
Aniket, I
shifting
think
its
you want to say something? Yeah.
Sir, I think our market and the global market is flooded by cheap Chinese goods, sir. And that
Yes.
is the reason. We
Okay,
have
so
the
you
market.
say correct. So China requires let's put it this way, China requires our market. Is that right?
Yes, sir, we are the
Yes, sir.
market.
And anything else?
So, and also we are dependent for like key materials like APIs for our pharmaceuticals and all, and
Oh,
also
right. You're very
semiconductors.
right. We are dependent on them for our pharmaceuticals, for we require raw material from them. Just like they require our markets, we require the goods. So, what does it imply?
Sir, it implies that China is the largest manufacturer and India is the largest consumer.
Okay, what it implies is
So
both
interdependent.
India and China have a mutually beneficial economic relationship. Right? And I'm very happy that in spite of all the jingoism and all that took place, that we banned TikTok, we did a lot of things like this. We are keeping it at a distance. We are not allowing them to come into the market so easily. But that economic relationship still holds. And why I want to bring out this aspect is that when there is an economic dependency on each other's, nations don't go to. So, good sense should prevail in the fact that our two nations, I mean, we will always be adversaries, economic and strategic adversaries. But it does not mean that we will go to war as it is brought out to be. The Indian army will prepare for a war. Like they say, you must prepare for the worst thing that can happen, the worst case contingency, as we call it. Then you're prepared for everything else. So if you are prepared to fight a war with China and keep it at a distance, while still maintaining economic ties and diplomatic ties and cultural ties with time, it will be a way of keeping a balance of China-India relations. Now, if this, in my view, is what is the way forward for India-China ties. So, what are you seeing emerging? One is a US-led order in which USA and China are hostile. Though they're economically dependent, they're hostile because they have a battle for economic supremacy in the coming century. Or not coming century, this century, I beg your pardon. The US-led order wants to contain China, which is also good for us because we don't want a very strong China at our doorstep. China and Russia want to get together to counter the rise of the West. And who are the other nations that can join this alliance of China and Russia?
North Korea, sir.
North Korea, sir.
Okay, North Korea and
Saudi Arabia, Iran.
And who? Saudi Arabia is, well, we cannot say so far. And
Iran.
Belarus.
Iran. So we had, and
Sir, Belarus.
Belarus. Oh, very good. Of course, Belarus. Belarus is a traditional Russian ally. And you know, all of you, I'm so happy at a level of awareness. Yes, there is already an alliance of people who are aggrieved towards USA.
BRICS.
BRICS. नहीं, BRICS तो हमारे है. It's China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, Belarus. Other smaller nations could also become part of this. They can call it the Axis powers in a way. Because remember, Russia and China are being shunned by the West, are being boycotted by them. So if this alliance grows against a US-led alliance of USA, the European powers, South Korea, Japan, Australia, this will be the balance of power in the coming century. These are the two balances. Now, where does India stand between this?
So I
India is
believe India
balancing
will have
both sides.
Sorry?
India will have a neutral stance, according to me.
But where are we standing now? You all agree with me that these two blocks are emerging?
Yes, sir.
You all agree?
Yes,
I think that is logical, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Where does India stand in this balance of power?
Sir, I believe India will stand as non-aligned only, sir.
No. Yeah, we will stand. But where are we at this point of time? What is our position and what is the position of these two axes towards
Sir,
us?
sir,
Yeah,
we are
tell me.
little bit inclined toward Russia and the Russian power, sir.
Right. Okay.
But at the same time, we are managing US to counter China. So
Okay.
we are balancing it, sir, most of
Okay.
the time.
Good. Very good. You're putting a nice point. We are at the moment in a nice position. We have maintained our strategic autonomy. We have not taken sides. We are more aligned towards the US because ideologically we are towards them. We are ideologically in favor of democracy, freedom, everything. And more than that, against China, the US will be able to provide better assistance to us. They will be able to provide better technology to us. So we are aligned towards them without joining them in a formal alliance. We have also maintained good relations with Russia and have continued keeping them as a time-tested friend. We have also quite nicely balanced relations with China. Let the border dispute go on, बाकी तो चलता रहता है. It's not a state of war as they call it. Now, both sides, both blocks, the US-led bloc and the Russia-China bloc, want India on their side. Because the side towards which India tilts will become the dominant power bloc of the world. Are you all realizing that?
Yes, sir.
Is it coming out? If we tilt towards the
Yes, sir.
Russia-China bloc, economically and strategically, that bloc will become so much stronger. If we tilt towards the US-led Western bloc, that side will become so much more stronger vis-a-vis the other. That is the reason why both the USA and the Russia want to win us over. You know, but do you all agree on that?
Yes, sir.
You all feel it?
Yes,
Is
sir.
this the way things are falling in place? But remember, in world power equation, it's not like a friendship between two friends. Na, tu mera dost hai, uske saath katti hai, iske saath batti hai. It's not like that. Everything is very delicately done. And we both know, we are aligned, we are more aligned, we are more aligned towards the Western values without letting go of our traditional ties with Russia. This is where, and the West is now putting pressure on India to forego ties with Russia. Russia has no such demands. But in the long run, they will be increasing pressure upon India to take one side or the other. And that pressure is likely to increase when Donald Trump, if and when he comes into power in the USA. It is likely to increase. So, at that point of time, what should be India's stance?
Non-aligned, sir.
Non-aligned? Well, anybody else?
Multi-aligned.
Multi-aligned, you guys
Sir,
have got
also,
the right terminology. Well done. Okay. And anything else?
Say
What
incline a little.
Huh?
Say incline a little towards USA, because then USA will also have a Donald Trump also have a like better relations with Putin and all.
You are
Russia.
right. I too feel that we should be more inclined towards the USA, which we are. It's already there in the ties we have the economic ties, diplomacy, everything. But what is the position? I want the correct terminology. You all got very nice terms. Multilateral, multi-aligned, non-aligned. What is the correct position, the name of the position we should adopt?
Sir, actually, it should lie like a bridge between the two compounds.
You say,
If
okay,
we take one
can form
side,
it. So you say we
uh,
can form the bridge between the two compounds? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the correct position would be a position of strategic autonomy. That is the term we should follow. What I mean by this is, we are aligned, we are between the two camps, we are more aligned towards the USA, we are still with Russia, but the stance we take with each, on each position, will be one of strategic autonomy. It'll be one that best suits our strategic and economic interests. Nobody will tell us what to do. The USA will not tell India, don't buy Russian oil. They told Germany that. Germany listened because they're part of NATO. And they're suffering. They told UK that, they listened. India has told them, go take a walk. We will do what is good for the country. Our strategic and economic decisions are made by India, within India, for Indians, without anybody being able to tell us what to do. Now, this position can vary from issue to issue. Let me give you an example. We, in the Ukraine war, we have been telling everybody, okay, maintain peace. We have not voted against Russia. We've abstained. But when there were things like the Bucha massacre which took place, or the threat to the nuclear power plant, we called for a halt to these excesses. So, we will take the side which is correct for that point of time. And ladies and gentlemen, this position of strategic autonomy will allow us to hold our own. Anjum had brought out a point that we are non-aligned. Karwan had followed up his point by saying we are multi-aligned. Ladies and gentlemen, non-alignment is a dead and forgotten term now. And thank God for that. It was very nonsensical idea in which we talked about being peace lovers, etc. It made no sense. Today, we are multi-aligned. What I mean by that is, we are aligned towards USA. We are aligned towards Russia. We are aligned towards Japan. We are aligned towards Australia. We are aligned towards France. We are aligned towards Germany, towards Israel, towards Saudi, towards Iran, and a whole range of different powers. This is multi-alignment. Some of these powers don't get along with each other. Russia and USA does not get along with each other. China, Saudi Arabia and Iran don't get along with each other. Israel and the Arab world don't get along with each other. It does not matter to us. Our policy is independent. And by following this policy of multi-alignment and strategic autonomy, India will be best suited to hold its own in the years to come. Do you all feel this is a correct assessment of what the situation is today and how it is likely to shape up?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, do you all agree with it logically?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Agreed, sir.
So I have tried to bring out a worldview to you. To bring you the pictures, what is happening, the different world politics is so complicated. My goodness, somebody says something, does something else, means something else. But this is the broad worldview which is emerging and India's position into it. If you understand it, you'll understand the stance we are taking, why we are doing it. And I must say, as Indians, we should be proud of the position our country has taken. And as long as we continue this, we are going to be a major pole of power by around 2030, 2040 or so. With China, we should not have a war, not at all. In fact, we should actually have good relations with them, in which we keep them at bay, keep that border dispute at a distance. Forget it, it doesn't matter so much. Continue economic ties. That will ensure our prosperity. Do not get into the Ukraine camp. I beg your pardon, into the US camp full like the way Ukraine went. Never make that mistake. But still be aligned towards them. Do not break ties with Russia because the rest of the world is doing so. Because they are traditional friends. And maintain your allies with a range of bilateral powers. Japan, South Korea, Australia, France, Germany, everybody. If we do so, ladies and gentlemen, India's economic and strategic interests in this changing world order will be best maintained. And with this, I come to an end of my small little talk. I am now open to interaction with you all to hear your views, your points, your counterpoints, where you agree, disagree, have points to add so that the audience can all learn from it. Please, I think Karwan has raised his hand.
Yes, sir. So
Please,
it was
please.
very nice discussion, sir. However, sir, I would like to know your views on certain topics.
Please.
So, sir, as you said, we are more inclined toward USA than Russia.
Right.
However, sir, the recent visit of Prime Minister Modi is
Right.
aligned with the same time when there was a NATO summit.
Good.
So, sir, how and are sir historical ties with Russia?
Right.
The USA has put sanctions on us.
No, no,
So
no, no. On Russia, they have put.
No, sir. During like after our nuclear program.
Correct. 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 They did.
So, sir, there was always our policy was more inclined toward Russia.
Right.
Be
Right.
it our defense, be it our anything, be it our cultural. So, sir, I'm trying to understand, sir, how we are more inclined toward USA than Russia.
Okay, very good, very good. What you are telling me, what I am understanding what you're trying to say, you are saying, firstly, that meeting of NATO, which took place at the same week of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Moscow, in that NATO meeting, they condemned China as an enabler of the Russia. Not a word was said against India. Nothing. The other thing is, I agree with you 100%. India and Russia have traditional ties and they have been a stronger friend than USA has been to us. USA also sanctioned India in the wake of the nuclear attacks, which actually, like all sanctions, made no difference to us. We simply made our own technology. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a different era. India is stronger, more confident, and more powerful than what we were in those days. So they need us as much as we need them. And a nation arises by looking first at its self-interest. Forget bloody morality. It's all for the birds. Humanity, we must make the right noises, speak the right things, but do only what is good for your country and its people. And at this point of time, what is best for Indian interests is this strategic autonomy with a slight leaning towards the USA. That is where the future lies. It was a very good observation. Thank you. Yeah, I can see 2, 3 others have got their hands up. Please ask.
Jain,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, Anjum, tell me.
Sir, regarding this Russia-Ukraine war, there is some view that the war can be stopped after US election. There is a possibility, sir.
Right.
I just want to ask, there is another war going on in Israel and Hamas.
Superb.
What can be the outcome, sir? And whether
Superb.
that war can be stopped, sir, because humanity is being killed every day, sir. I believe that.
Superb, superb, very, very nice. You brought about an excellent angle, which I should have touched upon. Yes. You see, the Russia-Ukraine war will stop immediately after the elections because Ukraine cannot fight on its own. It just has 45 days of stocks of ammunition, which now I think would have reduced even more. And once the ammunition stops, they stop fighting. Now, the war which is often forgotten is the Israel-Gaza war. In this, nobody can, Hamas attack cannot be condoned in the faintest. But the Israeli reaction too cannot be condoned. They have gone about it with the motive of vengeance and retaliation. And in doing so, they've killed about 40,000 civilians. But destroying Hamas, which is the aim of the war, they have not achieved and they are unlikely to achieve. But this war is still being condoned not only by the West, but even the Arab nations. Saudi Arabia, UAE, none of them, Egypt, which is next door, have condemned it strongly enough. Israel had entered into the Abraham's Accord with its neighbors, in which it got diplomatic recognition. that accord still holds. To my way of thinking is, this war is a continuation of 70-year-long Middle East war, ever since Israel was created in Palestine. The only solution is to have a two-state solution in which the Palestinians in West Bank and Gaza have an independent state. Israel exists as an independent state. And though it will not solve the problem well, but yes, it will give greater rights, it will give greater responsibilities to the Palestinians and give them the long promised homeland. After the war is over, there will be talk of a Palestinian state. How it comes about, I don't know. All history tells us is that each time there has been talk of a Palestinian state, the Israelis have successfully stalled and scuttled it and delayed it for years, if not decades. Unfortunately, this is likely to happen even at the end of this war as well. There'll be promises made, but promises not kept. Thank you for a good observation. Yeah, I think Khushi has raised a hand, and so has Kaiser and Aniket. In this sequence, you'll ask your questions. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, as we discussed about the US elections, which is highly likely that Donald Trump will come to the power. So, recently he made a statement that he will be asking Taiwan to pay for some defense equipment or something like that.
NATO,
And
yes.
even when the Ukraine war started, he said that he can end the war in one day
Yes.
or two.
Yes.
And he has great relationship with not great, but better relationship with Russian president. So, can US be trusted when it comes to counter China after Donald Trump takes the power?
You know something, I actually feel Donald Trump is better for the world in spite of his erratic behavior than Biden. Firstly, Donald Trump was the first president to realize that a threat came from China and took measures to actively counter it. His grouse with NATO is that he said the USA is spending all the money on defense. Why are nations like Germany, France, UK not spending 2% of their GDP for defense as it was promised in the understanding between them? When he says I can end the war, he has got a personal affinity towards Putin. Putin helped him win the last elections, which is very true. The two of them think alike. They have that strongman's view of the world. So his way of ending the war would be he will realize the Russian viewpoint, which is actually the correct one. Tell Ukraine we cannot give you any more arms and ammunition. The minute he says that, the rest of the world will stop supporting Ukraine as well. And eventually the war will stop because it will have reached a status quo and the war will peter out. Even if not a former, it will peter out. This is what's likely to happen when Trump comes into power. With China, he will be more, that's one thing he has realized. The enemy is not Russia. Russia has to be won over to counter the main threat to the world, which is China. He will clamp down on China. In that, he will pressurize India to take sides. He will be more pressure from him to take sides, and it will be a test of diplomacy to keep it at bay. With India, he will pressurize India in trade wars. He will increase tariff, demand that US tariffs be reduced. All these things he will do. But overall, it may still be a better option than Biden. So, as far as trusting USA goes, ladies and gentlemen, in world politics, you don't trust anybody. You only trust your national instincts, your national interests, and follow it accordingly. But we have been doing it well, and I have no doubts we'll be able to handle Trump's presidency equally satisfactorily. But a good observation. Thank you very much. Right. Next, Kaiser, I
Thank you,
think
sir.
you. Yeah.
So in the end, you said that India should maintain good ties with China. But
Yes.
overall, in the discussion, we said that until the border dispute is not resolved, we won't be having a better ties with China.
Correct.
And sir, I believe that China's expansionist nature makes it so that if we have better ties with China, it may degrade some of the ties that we have with other countries. and it will spoil our overall worldview.
Good. Very good. Very, very, very good question. A very good observation. I'll put it like this. You know, India-China ties have been bedeviled by this border issue. If you all understand the border issue, you'll realize it's so complicated because, firstly, nobody knows where is the LAC. There's a saying in the Indian Army, there are 4 LACs. One is India's perception of the LAC. The other is China's perception of the LAC. The third is India's perception of the Chinese perception of the LAC. And the fourth is the Chinese perception of the Indian perception of the LAC. Nobody knows what the LAC is. It cannot be resolved in a hurry. It can be sorted out with a lot of give and take. It can take a year, it'll take about 2 to 4 years of discussions, but yes, it can be sorted out. In that time, like somebody put it, if you know, I think it was not, I think it was Deng who put it. He said, we will leave it to a generation wiser than us to resolve while we continue on things like trade and other things. That might be a good policy. And if you take a look at it, India-China relations are actually improving. They are on the mend. We have started, I don't, they have become our largest exporter, India with the largest trading partner. So mending ties with China while still preparing for any misadventure by them should be the way forward and is the best in India's national interest and should be followed. Keep them wary, like we are wary of every nation, but follow it all the same. Thank you. Next.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, me.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, I have 2 questions. My first
Right.
question is quite similar to Kaiser's.
Right.
Sir, you in the last you said we should maintain good relations with China and we should forget the border issues.
No, I didn't
But
forget it. I didn't say forget it. I said keep it in abeyance. Continue discussions with it. But don't, like, remember, we have been doing it for the past 70 years. There have been no
yes, sir.
incident on the LAC till Galwan took place in 2020. And those of us who were there, we know that it was more a local level action that went out of control rather than a large plan. So even if we have that same situation which existed 70 years since 62, where that status quo, a loose status quo is maintained, discussions continue, but the rest of the relations continue as normal, it is not a very bad state of affairs.
Sir, but if we continue trade with China, but somehow the Chinese money is funded the Maoist movement in India, Khalistani movement, Pakistani fundings. So these are, and the recent attacks in Katwa and the south of Pir Panjal is disturbing India in many ways, sir.
Yes.
So, and in the Northeast, sir, Northeast also is burning due to the Chinese movement.
Yes.
So how we can deal this, sir? We are funding them.
Okay, fine, get it. See, now look at it this way. All this funding is not going to them. The solution to the Northeast problem, the Maoist problems, even Kashmir, I would say, is largely, Kashmir, it's more political rather than a deliberate attempt on the other side. The solution lies in the political. Militarily, whatever has been done to stabilize it has already taken place. In J&K, pinpricks will continue happening, irrespective of what level of stability comes out there. Now, of course, it's a little bit too much. So the strikes are being part of a bigger plan, maybe by the ISI, maybe by internal displaced terrorists or whatever. But if we allow these pinpricks to derail the big picture, we will lose more. So we should have a more balanced attitude towards it, resolve it at our level, and still maintain ties with those whom we have to maintain.
Sir, one thing more I like to say, sir. If we didn't claim our...
Okay, I got your question. Okay, Praneeth.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am clear with the insights you have provided regarding external affairs. But then, sir, I have a question regarding our internal policies right now. At the end, if we see it's our economy which will be fueling all this, and whatever we'll be doing externally will be obviously good for, should be good for our country. But then, if we see internal policies such as unemployment and fake GDP things, do you see can we compete with China? with
No.
these kind of policies internally?
No. Wait. Very good. See, India is a rising economic power, but the Chinese economy is 3 times the size. It's a $17 trillion economy. But remember, Chinese have had a 20-year head start in that. We are still playing catch up. And all economies reach a peak and then they start reducing. So India, it's like China will come close to USA. India will come to, we are going to be the third largest economy very soon. We will come close to it. And you don't have to be on par with them completely. You have to, what you call, have near parity. And for that, but the other first point you brought out was India's internal problem of unemployment, inflations, internal strife. That is the greatest danger to India's security. Internal divisions have been exploited for not years, centuries, but for millennia. And as long as our politicians of all bloody parties, all hues, all colors, who believe in increase and divide just for the sake of votes, they don't realize that we will be susceptible to turmoil from within. This is one of the major issues that has to be addressed. Everything else will fall into place.
Yes.
So thanks a lot for sharing your views, sir. And you are now friend of No Frills Academy. You keep visiting us.
It will be a pleasure. It will be such an. I
And it
always
is such
enjoy
a pleasure.
interacting.
And see, your colleague long back in your regiment, one of the officers, his wife Sunita, has been in touch with us, and she has been taking classes for us.
Oh, okay, Sunita Chaudhary. Yes.
Yeah, Sunita Chaudhary on
Yes.
personality development issues and all that, and she'll be speaking to us next Sunday also.
He is again as Manish Chaudhary. He was a youngster in the unit. Very fine family.
Yes, sir.
But thank you, Nehru, for inviting me to speak to your academy, because I always enjoy interacting with your students, interacting with you. And I can say that I always go out having gained considerably. And I do hope I've contributed a little way to each one of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Please take care, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot,
ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.